More than 2,000 bills, more than 40 constitutional amendment proposals that may go nowhere, and the budget process is about to really get rolling. Time now to talk politics with our roundtable. Joining me is Bradley Phillips from LobbyUp.com and two of our top business and politics contributors, Jessica DeLoach Sabin and John Burris. Welcome to everybody for being here. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Let's go first. Let's talk constitutional amendments. There is word late in the week that they may not refer any constitutional amendments. They can refer 3. They may not refer any. Is that a mistake, John Burris?
No. 3 bad ones is better than, or none is better than 3 bad ones for sure. I mean, in the past, there always seems to be pressure to do something, and sometimes doing nothing is an option. Our Constitution doesn't always need to be amended. There's good proposals. There are things that could be changed. If they don't feel like any of the proposals fit the bill, they shouldn't refer anything.
What do you think, Jessica?
I agree with that, and I think Speaker Gillum had a really great quote about that. He said, look, if no one can agree on anything, if they can't find a consensus somewhere, then this is the process working the way it should work. So, I mean, I'm okay with it. It's just that I was interested in seeing how you could adjust the way people made their way onto the Supreme Court. Instead of through elections, maybe some sort of appointment. I'd like to see what that debate would look like, but I don't know. I'll never know.
You might not on this
time.
I don't think it's over yet. So,
Yeah.
What do you think, Bradley?
I absolutely agree. I think it's one of those things where the immediate needs rise to the top, and there was nothing in this package that really warranted doing something immediately, sending it to the people.
I tend to think, though, I would have liked to have seen the debate, too, on the governor's, on that proposal to let the governor keep his powers crossing state lines. I think that that's an antiquated part of the Constitution that needs to be updated, but...
Yeah, there were things that should have been addressed. Tort reform, on and on.
That one's a lot more debatable
I
rather
know,
than the governor crossing state lines and being able to still be governor.
There are important issues, but at the end of the day, if we're not going to do 3 good ones, just don't do any.
All right, let's move on to another subject here. The budget process probably gets rolling in real earnest this next week when RSA, Revenue Stabilization Act, starts those conversations start to take place. John, I want you to give a little bit of background for viewers and listeners out there. How does the process work? You've been in the sausage making part of that in the back rooms before.
Well, I mean, it's always underwhelming probably than what people would expect it to be. Everybody always gets a say. I mean, sometimes folks like to act like it's a small group, back room, triple layered, whatever you want to call it. I mean, at the end of the day, the budget's out there. People can have an effect on it if they choose to do the work and have the effect. But the process is for the governor to put his RSA, or his revenue stabilization proposal, on the desk, probably at the end of a week, maybe even the end of next week, give the members the weekend to read it, and then come back and make the votes. Leading up to that, leadership, usually various components of it, various parties, or from both parties, will kind of get together and have the say in what gets funded and what doesn't. Then the legislature will have the vote.
What's the biggest budget priority you think needs to be addressed a little bit more publicly, Jessica?
I would argue for pre-K, and that's just, I mean, it's so crucial, and I know that the governor cares about our young people. I also know that he has a lot of other interests too, and it's hard to make everyone happy. And everyone wants money, and everything's important, but if I had to throw in on one thing, I would definitely say pre-K for sure.
What do you think, Bradley? Biggest budget priority that's out there?
I think the biggest shortfall is prisons. I think everything that we need is basically being taken care of. And I also agree with John. The budget making process isn't really sexy. It doesn't attract highly political people.
Sexy at all.
I think 2 of the greatest budget minds that we've known were Mike Beebe and Duncan Baird, who's now with the governor's office. And it's very much an accounting process, and you figure out where the needs are and how much you've got to fill it, and it generally runs pretty smoothly.
I'll give you a budget priority question too. What do you think? What's out there that you think needs to have a little bit more focus?
There are lots of things. I mean, I think the governor does have a desire to find a way to make up for our 8 years of lack of increase of funding for pre-K. He's having to play catch up there, and I think he wants to, whether or not it's this budget session, to be determined. Prisons, certainly, as Bradley said, is a big issue because it's more immediate and it's more pressing, and the consequences are more serious.
I think the big deal on prisons right now too is the fact that you're going to have a Medicaid, a healthcare component in this prison reform package, because they do want to help provide some mental health services to those prisoners that are transitioning back into the real world. And nobody really knows what that price tag is going to be. I mean, I see that as being a real mystical kind of mystery number out there.
Fiscal impact study might go a long way there.
It would
Right.
help. It would help. All right, most popular bills of the week. Just bring a couple of them
Yeah,
to us.
got a couple. Got three for you. The Puppy Mill Act. Well, I'm sorry. The Arkansas Commercial Breeders Act by Jim Sorvillo. He sent it to interim study on Friday. The other one, Senate Bill 822 by Senator Hendren, changes the definition of dependent for public school life and health employee. It allows adopted children and stepchildren to be added. And then Greg Ledding's House Bill 1648 was filed immediately after Representative Justin Harris's rehoming. And that sets up a process with DHS, a immediate termination in the subsidy, and then a home visit on the new home of the children.
Give anybody a chance to weigh in on any of those three proposals. You want to go puppies? Do you want to go adopted kids? Or what was the one in the middle?
Teachers' health insurance
Teachers'
and
health
life insurance.
I like how you looked my way about the puppies, and I have a very soft spot for puppies, and I love them. And you know, with puppy mills, most people have a very negative impression of them, but I won't talk about that. Let's talk about Ledding's bill. I think seeing some sort of immediacy, some sort of answer to everything we've seen play out with Representative Harris's particular situation, it will be interesting to see how the legislature decides to respond to that. And it kind of reassures all the voters here in the state that, hey, your legislature is working for you. When bad things happen, we're here to help.
Is it troubling that Representative Harris voted for both of the rehoming bills to basically make them a felony crime? I mean, and he committed the acts that led to the legislation being drafted?
My opinion, no. I don't think it was. I think most folks involved in this have agreed that there's systematic problems at DHS. Putting aside what you feel about Representative Harris, right, wrong, decisions made, regardless, there's some systematic problems at DHS that need to be addressed. It's too big. It gets too washed up or too caught up in issues kind of away from, I think, what is their core mission of things like fostering and adoptive kids. And so I think bringing some focus to the problem is a good thing. And I think you can be for that while having lived in the system prior to these changes.
All right, another topic that I think started gaining a little traction, a little murmur traction this past week. Term limits was extended by voters in the November election cycle. Now normally at this point in the session, we start hearing names thrown about as to who might be running for the Speaker of the House. And I don't hear anybody's name being thrown out there except one guy who is the Speaker of the House. Might we see a two-term Speaker of the House?
I think that would be great. I think it would be great for the process if we could just maybe avoid a speaker's race every other session, because that's so contentious. It splits people up, not just into two parties, but different fragments of two parties. And if we could just knock that out, then I think we'd be a lot better served.
Jessica?
It's the ultimate compliment, right?
Right.
So Speaker Gillum has done a tremendous job, and I don't see any way that anyone could say, I could do better than you. I'm sure there are very talented people up there, but he's doing a great job, and if he wants to keep doing it, I'm sure that his body will be okay with that.
Mr. Burris?
Hey, if you're fair and you can do things and be bold and make decisions and still be fair, and I think that's what the leadership position's about. And I think most people agree Speaker Gillum's been pretty fair with things.
So do you think we'll have a speaker's race?
I think a lot can change. It's going to be up to 100 people sitting in that room, and if he's fair,
51 people.
well, that's fair. that's a good point. Yeah, 51 will decide, and I think he's done a good job by all accounts.
All right. Getting the wind down here on our time here, so I appreciate you guys being with us this morning. Bradley Phillips, Jessica DeLoach Sabin, John Burris, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.